Good evening, everyone. It is I, Courtney, and I will be your host this evening. Welcome to the Inside Out channel. Before we get started, let me just do a few housekeeping situations. If you have not already done so, please like and subscribe to my channel, share with your friends and your family, and make sure you have your notifications on so that when I post a new video, you guys can be notified. Or you don't have to turn them on, but just know I'm going to be posting more regularly and you might want to be updated. So that takes care of that. I always forget to tell you guys to subscribe. And my mother always tells me, don't forget to tell them to like and subscribe. So hopefully it'll stick. Okay. Today is 2/22/2022. That is a lot of twos. And that is exciting. But what is also very exciting is that the United States is experiencing its first Pluto return. Now, first off, I want you guys to excuse me. I laid down at around 2:30 and I was like, I'm just going to take a nap for an hour. That hour turned into like 5. So I'm coming to you semi-fresh off of a nap. So if I sound a little groggy or I'm not as spruced up as I usually am, it's because I was really enjoying this nap, which may have something to do with the whole Pluto return and the energies that we're working with. Where I'm at, it was pretty humid today and like kind of rainy, but not really. Like I saw the sun. It was like a lot of weird things happening in the weather. I know my daughter had a really bad headache. So, and she hasn't had one of those in a long time. So I'm thinking it had to do with the energy shifts that we're currently experiencing. So, okay, the United States is having its first Pluto return. Now, the United States, as most of us know, became the United States as we know it in 1776. America was inhabited by the Native Americans long before America became what it is today. But for birth chart purposes, astrologers use the date of 1776 at 5:10 p.m. in Philadelphia, PA, to develop the United States birth chart, which represents the America as we know it, which, encompasses all the laws and things that make America what it is today. Now, we all have our own personal birth charts, and we all will experience, like a Venus return, Saturn return, whatnot. But none of us will experience a personal Pluto return because Pluto takes about 247 years to complete an orbit. So the United States having its first Pluto return is significant because we are such a young country and we have not been around for that long. So to experience our first Pluto return is kind of a big deal. Other countries have experienced them 3-4 times, which is because they've been around longer than us. So I find this to be completely significant, and I've been doing a lot of research because to have your Pluto return, to have our country have a Pluto return is one thing, but to have that Pluto return happen on 2/22/22, a sequence of numbers of twos, I don't mean just say numbers, but a sequence of twos that we will not see again in our lifetime ever again, is something I think that we should take note and pay attention to. So I got my notes here. Hopefully I can keep this under 10 minutes. Okay, so what happens when a country experiences a Pluto return? Well, first let's look at what Pluto represents. Pluto is the planet that governs the astrological sign of Scorpio. Pluto represents death and rebirth. It's about dismantling things in order to rebuild or rebirth something else. It's the god of the underworld when it comes to mythology. I think that's what I want to say. And it has a knack for exposing hidden truths dark secrets, and all the shadowy stuff. I'm reading from my notes now. It brings the dark, hidden, and taboo up to the surface in order for it to be dealt with and faced. Now, I know that may sound like some like doom and gloom, doomsday situations, but that's not the case. In order, and I'm personally speaking for myself, in order for any of us to grow, we have to face that part of ourselves that we try and keep hidden. The part that maybe society or family or whoever has convinced you is something that needs to be hidden and something that needs to be tucked away. But just like dirty laundry in your home, or a dirty diaper, or in, I don't know, like molded food, if you don't uncover it, address it, and dispose of it, it's gonna stink and it's gonna mess up everything. So I feel like that's the same with us as humans. If we do not face that part of ourselves that we have kept tucked away, then we can never experience the transformations that are necessary. No, I don't even want to say that. If you keep that part of you tucked away, then you're never going to understand and see how cool and dynamic you really are. There's parts of us that aren't meant to be tucked away. They're just not meant to be tucked away. And there's other parts of us that have been tucked away that if we can address it and correct it, then we can continue on with the ease and peace that we all desire. So if that is the case for a personal level, then that is the case for all of us as a whole in this country. In 1776, we were all living in a very different environment. Obviously, technology wasn't a thing, but the racial injustices that were brought upon, our country was built on the backs of slaves. Settlers came over, annihilated a whole race of people, then brought another race of people over, made them slaves, and then built this country to what it is today. Now, although things are different, that foundation is still there. So for Pluto to have its return today, and it says it's supposed to last for 2 years. I'm going to do some more research into that, but I assume it's a 2-year situation because Pluto moves so slow. So from 2022 until 2024, we'll be under that influence. But it's going to be interesting to see, considering that Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth. It's going to be interesting to see what takes place in these next 2 years as far as our country is concerned. To build a country on the foundations that our country has been built on, something's got to give. Something's got to crack. Something's got to be torn down in order for the newness to be rebuilt. And I'm keeping my eyes peeled and continuing to do my research to see how these things are going to play out. Now, also, this is a side note. What's interesting is that we are, as a whole, experiencing what is called the Great Resignation. And the Great Resignation is simply, there's lots of jobs, but nobody wants to work these jobs. And we are finding, I'm a career specialist. I work for the Susquehanna Workforce Network. And what we're finding is that many people are understanding their worth, reevaluating what life means to them and what they value, and seeing that the way that they have worked before and the format that has been given as far as the workforce is concerned it's not going to work. Employees are wanting more from their employers, and I think it's a good thing. So a lot of people are either starting their own business, or they are looking for jobs that are going to give them more support when it comes to not only finances, but more flexibility from working from home. Because let's be honest, a lot of jobs that we do, you don't have to be in the office 9 to 5, 10 to 6, whatever the time frame is, Monday through Friday. You can do a lot of the work that you've been given to do from home. So I think the theme of the Great Resignation is something that falls under this Pluto, our country's Pluto return. So it's going to be quite interesting. Another point that I want to make is that when the Declaration of Independence was signed, it was signed in 1776. And let me look this up real quick. I believe most of the people who signed the Declaration of Independence were pretty young. They weren't like, I'm typing this in. They weren't like 60, 70, 80 years old. Okay, so how old were the founding fathers when the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776? Thomas Jefferson was 33. John Hancock was 39. James Monroe was 18, and Alexander Hamilton was 21. So I say this to say that I find it interesting that a lot of people who are in the White House now, and I'm thinking of our president, and I'm thinking of Miss Nancy Pelosi, I'm trying to make this as politically correct as possible, but they're so old, and they're trying to run this country in a way, to me, that is just so backwards. And these people who are in their 80s, I don't know how old Nancy Pelosi is, but they are my grandparents' age. They were raised during a time where racial injustices and segregation and all the things that Black people faced, like, it was popular and it was like the norm. So to me, what I'm saying, without really saying what I'm saying, is that I think it's time for a shift in power when it comes to who is in these positions of political power. Kanye, I love Kanye, I don't care what y'all say, he really has a lot of great things to say. And he said, it don't matter how much money you have or how many sports you play or how many songs you make or any of these things. Real power comes from politics. And if you're not in a position to make decisions and you're not in a position politically, then you really don't have much power. So I say this to say, all tying this into the United States Pluto return, I think many of us that are 35, 40s, 21s, we have to start getting in our mind that we need to take back our power. We need to put ourselves in positions of political power. We need to show up at town meetings. We need to be a voice. We need to start being putting ourselves in a position where we can start being the ones to make the choices, to make the rules. I'm sorry, I got a little distracted. I'm telling y'all, I live in a condo. It's beautiful, 3rd floor. My neighbors downstairs are the loudest people I have ever experienced in my whole life. Like, they don't party. It's not their TV. They literally wake up and they like slam doors, and it sounds like they're banging their head on the wall, or it sounds like they're banging their chairs on the deck. Like, I have never in my life experienced anything like it. So if you hear some weird noises, don't worry, it's my neighbors downstairs. And yes, I said downstairs. They're not even above me. It's like the strangest thing. I'm trying to get it taken care of. I don't like to be a snitch. I've never complained on none of my neighbors ever. But if y'all even knew the half, you would have been told me to do this a long time ago. So sorry for the side note. Back to this. So the Pluto return, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. And history has shown that when other countries have experienced their Pluto return, great transformation has taken place. For example, England has had 3 Pluto returns. I wrote this in my book. I don't have my glasses, so hopefully I can read this correctly. My book looks like it's from 1776. Okay, so England has survived 3 Pluto returns. The first Pluto return happened during the Great Famine. The second Pluto return happened during the Elizabethan era. And I think that's when there was like a great, like, surgeons, or like a great, like, literature became really popular around that time in England. Don't quote me, look that up, but I think I remember reading that. And then the third Pluto return happened during the formal creation of the United Kingdom in 1801. This is just England. The Roman Empire, when they experienced their Pluto return, their first one was in 218 to 220 AD. And this was a period of time marked by divisive leaders, scandal, death, and unstable transfers of power. Look this up. I'm just giving you guys little tidbits to look this up yourself. The Roman Empire's second Pluto return was during the years of 461 through 468. And their Pluto return happened right around the fall of the Roman Empire. So with COVID happening in 2020, I don't think that is any coincidence that it was 2 years prior to now when we had our Pluto return. I know in my own life personally, with family members who I have been praying for, my sister and I have been praying for, whatever, there has been such a huge overnight, like instantaneous transformation, and one in particular. And this family member completely did a 180 and is like killing it. And I don't want to get into details, I might another time, but I had another friend who texted me today and said that her son told her, "I love you" for the first time. He's only 2. Said "I love you" to her for the first time today on 2/2/22. I'm sorry, 2/22/22. That's a lot of 2s. And he's a Capricorn. She's a Scorpio. So I don't know. Like, I just see, I was raised in the church. I've said this in many of my videos. And since COVID hit, I spent a lot of time with God. I told him, listen, I know something's got to be up with me because I keep repeating certain patterns, like certain things are happening. I need help. And he pointed me to my co-star again, that he's been kind of nudging me to look at for the past couple years. I took it seriously, and I really began to study astrology, and I studied it so that I could understand myself and be able to keep up and keep up in life. And I'm telling you, like, God is the creator of this whole universe, and he used astrology and gave that to us as a tool to be able to find our way. And then once I learned, I'm bringing it back to myself, once I learned who and how I was able to not just go to him based off of emotions, but I went to him based off of intention so that I could understand how I needed to maneuver as things were happening around me. I don't know if that makes sense, but what I'm saying is, for someone who may watch this and you were raised in the church, do not be scared of astrology. Do not be scared to ask the questions and say the things that the church has conditioned you to believe that you can't say or that you can't ask. And for those of you who are completely into astrology and what's happening in the celestial bodies, do not discount and do not forget and do not be scared to say that the spirit or the universe that you so freely mention, that it is the Spirit of God that is allowing you to be able to understand astrology and teach it the way that you teach it. And I find that if we can take both parts that have been so eloquently separated and put them back together, then we can experience not only a great transformation on a personal level, but we can begin to experience a great transformation as a country. We have to remember that if we're going back to the beginning to undo things, undo all the scandals that the United States has been involved in since its inception, I have to say that the only thing that I think that should stay and what we should build off of, our building point, is that we are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think that's the Pledge of Allegiance too, which I don't think we say in schools anymore. So there's just a whole, it's just a whole thing. We got a lot of work to do, but the work doesn't have to be so hard. Okay, so not in this video, but hopefully in the next video, I'm going to talk about the number 2 and why it's so significant, what its biblical meanings are, and why that influence is going, how this the energies of this number is going to influence us for the next couple of years. I will say that 2 is one of, if not the most spiritual number, and people who have 2s in their chart or in their makeup are highly spiritual people who can sense things that other people can't even pick up on. Now, I have to tell you that this is the truth, and I'm saying this because yours truly, my birthday is 2/2/1982. I celebrated my 40th birthday on 2/2/22. And the things that I've experienced and the things that I have seen, I know that, me in particular, I know that I was made a certain way, and that I can sense things that other people can't see, and I can articulate things that are happening in the spirit that other people might not be able to pick up on. So 2 is a very interesting number. We are living in very interesting times, very exciting times, and it's just a beautiful thing. So I just wanted to leave my imprint on the world about the Pluto return and my take on it. And maybe I'll do some more research or some more videos on the research that I've done regarding this topic. But in the meantime, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch my video. Again, like and subscribe, share this video, and check out my website if you're interested in looking at your own birth chart and getting some clarification and understanding on that. Visit my website. I'll link that down below. Shoot me an email and we can schedule a time where we can look at it and see what we're working with as it pertains to you. I hope you guys have a fantastic evening, and until next time, stay blessed, keep your head up, and much love.